In the silence of the night, a scene returns to the mind again and again. A well, darkness, cold walls, above, a small circle of sky, and below, Prophet Yusuf, peace be upon him. He has just been pushed in. He must be injured, shaken. But the most piercing pain is this. The footsteps that walked away above were not strangers. They were his own. Now hold on to a question in your heart and let it remain open until the end. What did Prophet Yusuf, peace be upon him, find in the darkness of that well that kept him from breaking? Because he was in the well, but he was not alone. The story of Prophet Yusuf, peace be upon him, begins with a dream, a childhood dream. 11 stars, the sun and the moon prostrating before him. A dream so radiant it lingers in the eyes. Prophet Yaqub, peace be upon him, understood it was no ordinary matter. He advised Yusuf not to share it with his brothers, because when jealousy takes root in the heart, a person stops seeing. That is exactly what happened. Jealousy grew in the hearts of his brothers. They felt their father's love lean more toward Yusuf. And when a person becomes convinced that someone else has taken my share of love, he does not ask for love anymore. He begins to pull others down. One day, they asked to take Yusuf with them. We will play with him, they said. Prophet Yaqub's heart hesitated, but eventually he allowed it. Yusuf went with them, and from here begins a form of pain where a person cannot even understand why it is happening to him. Yusuf had wronged no one, harmed no one. Yet he became the target. They reached the well, and then came the moment that changed everything. They threw him into it. A deep, dark, cold well, and the voices above slowly faded away. Pause here for a moment. Inside a well, a person feels two things at once: helplessness and silence. And in that silence, the heart begins to testify against itself. This is the end. But at that very moment, Allah revealed to Yusuf that one day he would inform them of this deed, while they would not even realize it. This is the moment where a subtle light appears within the story. The well was about to become punishment, but Allah's promise turned it into a path. Yusuf was below, but not outside the sight of mercy. A caravan arrived. They lowered a bucket into the well. It was pulled up, and Yusuf came up with it. They rejoiced at finding a slave, and sold him. He came out of the well, his breath returned, but his freedom did not. This too is strange. Sometimes Allah takes a person out of one darkness only to place him into another test, so he does not mistake comfort for everything. Yusuf entered a grand house. There was dignity, food, clothing, but slavery is still slavery. And slavery is not just of the hands, it is of choice. Then Yusuf grew into a young man, beauty, dignity, purity, and that itself became a trial. The woman of the house called him toward herself. Doors were locked, the opportunity complete, and temptation dangerously easy. This is where many people lose within themselves, even if nothing appears outwardly. But Yusuf said, I seek refuge in Allah. He ran toward the door. His shirt was torn from behind, and at that very moment the door opened. The matter was exposed, and the accusation turned toward Yusuf. Here comes another pain. Truth does not always bring immediate ease. Sometimes it demands an immediate price. Evidence appeared. The shirt was torn from behind, meaning Yusuf was escaping. The truth became clear. Yet, to suppress the matter and avoid scandal, Yusuf was sent to prison. After the well, now the prison. The place changed, the test did not. Reflect here, the well was dark. And the prison is dark too. The difference is that in the well, Yusuf was alone. In prison, there are people, but loneliness still lives within a person. In that prison, two inmates shared their dreams. Yusuf interpreted them, but before that, he called them toward Allah. This is the point that leaves one in awe. The one whom the world kept breaking became a guide for others. The interpretations came true. One prisoner was freed. Yusuf asked him to mention him to his master, but he forgot. And Yusuf remained in prison for years. For years. Here, the story becomes heavy. The well was a sudden shock, but prison is a long wait. The same walls, the same doors, the same weight of time. And the bitter truth, the one he hoped in forgot him. Yet Yusuf did not break inside. This is a patience that is not written on the face. It stands firm within. It stands firm within. Then the king saw a dream. 7 fat cows being eaten by 7 lean ones, and 7 green ears beside 7 dry ones. No one could interpret it. Then that same man remembered Yusuf. He came to him. Yusuf explained, 7 years of prosperity followed by 7 years of famine, and also gave a plan to manage resources. The king said, bring him to me. Here comes a decision that shakes the soul. Yusuf did not rush out of prison, he said. First, investigate the matter of the women. And that woman. And that woman. He chose to clear his name before accepting freedom, because he knew that walking out with a stain is another prison. The investigation proved his innocence. The women testified. The truth emerged. Only then did Yusuf leave prison, not just freed, but cleared. He was given authority. The Arabic heat, Arabic saying, Arabic leaf, Arabic noon, Arabic berry, treasuries were entrusted to him. He managed the land. In years of prosperity, he stored resources. In famine, people survived. Remember this, the well where Yusuf was thought to be finished became the training ground that made him a mercy for an entire nation. Then came the famine, and his brothers arrived for grain. He recognized them. They did not recognize him. Here revenge would have been easy, but Yusuf did not take revenge. He dealt with wisdom, gave them grain, and asked them to bring their younger brother next time. They returned with him. Yusuf kept his brother close, then arranged a plan to detain him lawfully. The brothers were distressed. They returned to Prophet Yaqub, peace be upon him, whose grief resurfaced. But he said, a beautiful patience, and he said, I complain of my sorrow only to Allah. They returned again, humbled, broken, and then came the moment the entire story was waiting for. Yusuf said, do you remember what you did to Yusuf and his brother? They were stunned. Are you Yusuf? He said, I am Yusuf, and this is my brother. Allah has been gracious to us. Indeed, whoever has taqwa and patience, Allah does not waste the reward of the doers of good. Pause here. This is where he had power, justification, and the past. Yet he said, no blame upon you today. May Allah forgive you. This forgiveness was not weakness. It was strength born in the depths of the well. Because the one strengthened by Allah does not need revenge. Allah is enough for him. Then Yusuf sent his shirt. When it was placed on Yaqub's face, his sight returned. The family reunited. And the childhood dream came true. Yusuf said, my father, this is the fulfillment of my dream. He bowed before Allah in gratitude and prayed to die in submission and be joined with the righteous. Now return to the original question. What did Yusuf find in the well that kept him from breaking? There was no lamp there, no rope. There was only Allah's promise. And a promise is something that shows a person the way even in darkness. That is why he was in the well, but not alone. But not alone. This is the entire story. Whether it was the well, the prison, accusation, or authority, Yusuf remained with Allah everywhere, and so no place could consume him. If this story has entered your heart, hold on to it, repeat it, and pass it on. May Allah grant us all the strength to remain steadfast upon the truth.